Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, retail professionals, and welcome to episode 27 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, executive editor of Total Retail. Today I'm joined by David VanAmburg, managing director of the American Customer Satisfaction Index, ACSI, the National Independent Index of Customer Satisfaction. We're going to be discussing the ACSI's 2015 retail report, which was released in late February and includes some ominous numbers for retailers. Thanks for joining me, David.
Pleasure to be here, Joe.
First question is, can you tell us about the American Customer Satisfaction Index and in particular its recently released 2015 retail report?
Sure. The ACSI has been measuring customer satisfaction now with about 300 of the largest consumer-facing companies across several dozen different industries that serve households since 1994. So we're starting our third decade now. These are all industries that everyone knows, everyone experiences, everything from airlines and hotels to automobiles to canned soup to athletic shoes, financial services, insurance, banks, and so on. And then, of course, in the fourth quarter of last year, which is when we always measure it, the retail sector, gas stations, supermarkets, department stores, specialty retailers, and drugstores.
And then one of the key findings from the retail report was an overall drop in customer satisfaction. This was actually the second year in a row that ACSI is tracked a drop in customer satisfaction. Can you talk about what specifically your research uncovered in this latest report?
Yes, we're showing a general downward trend. It's not that this or that company is down. It's really a slight depression pretty much across the retail sector. Very few companies stick out for having gained in satisfaction or held steady. Pricing is a big issue. We're seeing the measurement that we do for value for money, the rating that customers give of the prices they pay given the quality of the merchandise they buy and the quality of the shopping experience is deteriorating for a second year in a row. So that's a big driver. Customer service, though, is also taking a hit. Customers are not rating across the board in retail the service that retailers typically provide quite as strong as a year ago. One bright spot does remain internet retail. Although it did drop slightly, it still ranks head and shoulders above any of the categories in terms of brick and mortar experience. People do still very much prefer to do their shopping for various items. Supermarkets probably a bit of an exception, but certainly when we're talking about big box retailers, they prefer that experience online over the in-store experience.
That's interesting. Do you have any theories as to why customers may be less satisfied with the shopping experiences they're having with retailers? And in particular, I guess, kind of follow up that last answer, especially in store, it seems like.
Yes. Well, given a couple years now to really step back and look at this, and as I said, we've been doing this now for more than 2 decades, so we've got a lot of data. What we're really finding that's interesting is not so much that satisfaction has been slumping over the last couple of years in a fashion that's alarming, that we think is likely to continue, although one can't know that for certain until we measure again, but rather that the higher levels of satisfaction that we were seeing, not only across retail, but across all of the industries in the ACSI, has been higher than usual over the last few years. And we attribute this to whatever cliche you want to use, a halo effect, a honeymoon period, post the Great Recession, when retailers and service providers of all types were offering a lot better discounting, employees, really even down to the individual employee level, but companies generally trying harder to get people to loosen up some of their savings, get out and spend to try to stimulate the economy. And that this was pushing satisfaction numbers higher. On the consumer side, we think consumers were a little more forgiving when times were tighter, when people were a little more nervous about their spending. That seems to have dissipated now. It's waning. That period has kind of ended, and discounting is not what it once was. People are a little pickier, a little more discerning, have higher expectations now that they're getting a little more savings, doing a little better, feeling a little more secure in their jobs, and so on. And basically, some of it's a kind of a psychological shift, if you will, as we get further out from the Great Recession. As prices go up, people are going to be less happy about that. They were used to those great deals they were getting in 2010, 2011, 2012. And as a result, they're suggesting that they're not quite as satisfied now as they were before.
I'm interested, do you have any insights on specific brands, specifically within the retail report, that did well, that scored high in the index, and then on the flip side, brands that didn't do well, that scored some of the lowest rankings, and then sort of a third part of that question, examples of brands that may have shown significant improvement year over year, or in reverse, that kind of fell back 1 year to the next?
Absolutely. The list of companies in ACSI among retailers that do well are really a group that tend to do well year in, year out, and you'll see them show up on other kinds of lists as well. They typically are among the companies that are cited in best places to work types of categorizations that are done, because there's no coincidence that companies that make employees happy are also companies that make customers happy. So the kinds of brands that we're seeing are Costco, Nordstrom, L Brands, which does Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, supermarket chains like Wegmans, Publix, Trader Joe's, and then on the internet side, Amazon. Amazon is always one of the top-rated companies. On the flip side, the kinds of companies that we're seeing at the bottom of the retail index are Walmart, Sears, Rite Aid, supermarkets like Albertsons and Giant Eagle. These tend to be the laggards in the industry and are usually year in, year out. Walmart is typically one of the lowest rated companies in ACSI. Biggest drops this year we saw for Whole Foods. Whole Foods was down quite a bit. Macy's had a big drop, as did Rite Aid, and finally Netflix. Netflix tends to bounce up and down over the years depending on its pricing model whenever there's a big price increase, just as we see the price of gasoline go up or down, and that really influences satisfaction with gasoline service stations. There tends to be a pretty volatile pattern with Netflix whenever there's a new pricing scheme or a new pricing approach that's rolled out, and that impacts customer satisfaction with those particular customers.
Do you find that department stores in general struggle when compared to some of the other retailers, specifically like some of your online retailers, or has that been the case in what your research has told you?
Yes, there's certainly challenges there for any brick and mortar. And of course, nowadays, all the substantial brick and mortars, any Fortune 1000 company that's a retailer really has to have some kind of internet presence as well as their brick and mortar presence. And the question becomes then one of balance. How much do you invest in these stores that are thousands and thousands of square feet that you have to heat in the winter and cool in the summer and fill with employees and merchandise and so on, versus how much you invest in the warehousing and the supply chain side of things on the internet shopping experience portion of the business. And that's a balancing act that's always going to be there. It's probably going to continue to be a challenge for the brick and mortar retailers, how much to invest in one versus the other. But it's certainly clear, as I said before, that the internet experience is a better experience from the perspective of the customers. They would much rather shop online because it's just such a great experience. So brick and mortars are going to lag behind. They're going to be perceived to be an inferior shopping experience. The question is, what do they do about that? Do they try to improve that experience, make the customer service great, to get people to come into the stores, or do they go the other direction and make more of the focus their own internet channel to try to take advantage of the fact that they recognize that people are so much more satisfied when it comes to the internet experience?
And then lastly, David, do you have any advice for our audience of retailers on how they can improve their customers' experiences?
It's a combination of what I just finished talking about, actually. I mean, it really is which way do you want to go, or do you want to try to improve both? Do you want to offer great customer service? This is what companies like Nordstrom or Wegmans pride themselves on. It's why they do well in our study every year. They make customer service such a focus. They do so much with employee training. They make a huge focus on employee satisfaction, making employees happy in terms of well compensated, well respected, well treated, and so on. And then that's kind of a trickle down where employees are very satisfied to be working for a company like Nordstrom or Wegmans. And as a result, they kind of give off that vibe to customers, and it's a great customer service experience. So investing in customer service is always a good way to go, but it's an expensive way to go as well in terms of improving overall satisfaction. A much less expensive route is to focus on internet investment, and obviously companies are doing that as well. And that is to tap into this huge potential out there of customers telling us that they love the internet shopping experience when websites are designed well, when shipping is easy, when travel time, to get from ordering the merchandise to actually getting it is quick. It's a very convenient and very satisfying way to go. So another approach is to jump on that bandwagon and really ride it and keep focusing on investing in that channel that that customers are saying that they love so much.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see that sort of that latter option with the investment in technology and the online side of the business from Target to some of the other brands that have been in the news recently about investments in e-commerce. Why don't you give our audience some just where they can find the 2015 retail report, some further if they're looking for further information?
Sure. Our website is www.theacsi.org. So THEACSI.org. And that's the landing page where you'll see links to our press release, to tables of all of our scores, which will tell you not just where Walmart scored this year versus last year, but indeed all of its historical data back to 1994 and all the other retailers, as well as all of the other industries that I talked about, airlines and automobiles and so on. It really is quite a wide-ranging index.
Great. Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank David VanAmburg of ACSI for his time. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on iTunes and Stitcher, and make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Lastly, please follow us on Twitter at MyTotalRetail or on Facebook at facebook.com/MyTotalRetail. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.